Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode 20 of the ABM All By Myself, aka a Bowel Movement podcast. I couldn't be more proud of what we are accomplishing together with this, and the glue that is holding this model train together, keeping it buzzing down the tracks, is the liking, commenting, subscribing, and of course, the ding dong, ringing that notification bell, because these episodes do go live daily. However, the time will vary. So if you want to be the first person to win that game in sharing this with your friends, the game where even losers are winners, make sure to ring that notification bell. So in today's episode, we are going to go back into, in episode 18, I shared a story about me and my buddy Nick, rest in peace Nick, getting arrested almost for paintballing in front of his house, and the neighbor kid thought we had sniper rifles, so forth and so on. In today's episode, I'm actually going to tell you the story of how I got that paintball gun, as well as another shenanigan I got myself into with it. The cops weren't involved, but very close to that being the case. So let's go back in time. I was 15 or 16 years old. I had a buddy named Jason. Shout out to you, Jason. And him and his stepdad were completely enthralled with paintball guns and going off to the course, shooting each other up, all that fun shit. So they had things like a spider gun, the autococker was one of them, the Angel, and I mean the entry level for like a good paintball gun is probably around $150, and then you're going up into the thousands. Just like with anything, there's the elite level, the professional connoisseur grade guns that you might be paying $1,500, $2,000 for, no problem, right? And then and on top of the gun, you have an air compressor tank, you have a hopper which holds the paintballs, and then you have other doodiddles and things that you can add to the gun if you would like. But me, I wanted to get into it. I just wanted to get myself a gun so I can go to the fields without having to rent one of these dinky ass guns. And let me just say, when you go to a paintball field and you're in a rental gun, people just look at you as the ultimate target. So not only was I trying to get my own gun, I was trying to take that ultimate target back, or that ultimate target off of my back. So my buddy had let me know that every year there was a store called I&I Sports in the city of Industry. Shout out to you, I&I Sports. If you're still open, congratulations. If you're not, maybe you've shifted to all online or you're selling through Amazon now. I don't know, but I wish you all the best. So I&I Sports every year would run this program where they would offer $10 paintball guns. Now, $10 was right in my price range. Now, were these the autococker, the Angels, or even the Spiders? No, these were very elementary paintball guns that worked. You just needed to buy a few accessories. So at this event, they had the $10 guns, and then they had the cheaper accessories that you ultimately need, like the air tank, the hose for the air tank, and the hopper. My guess is I was able to get out of there for around $30, and I had everything I needed, besides the paintballs, of course. So, which my buddy had a shitload of those. So we got the gun, I got all the accessories, and then we took it to my house to see what can this thing actually do for $10, right? So we took it in my backyard, and there's a couple components that really make the paintball gun what it is. One of them being the barrel. The barrel that I had was pretty decent. You know, I don't think that we could have done anything differently to that. There's a spring that really dictates the power and velocity of which, how many feet per second the ball or the paintball is traveling out of that barrel would be the technical term to use. And then there's things like the trigger, which you can, you can adjust the trigger to be more, what would it be, like sensitive. So if you barely touch it, it's going to shoot the gun. So that's what we did. We added a much more condensed spring into this gun, meaning that the shots were going to be 10 times more powerful. And then we modified the trigger so if you barely press the trigger, it would just start firing. And now we have taken this $10 gun and we probably turned it into a $30 gun. So we're very proud of ourselves. We're in my backyard. We got some paintballs, we're loading it up, and we start shooting it just at a piece of wood that's maybe 10 to 15 feet in front of us. And we're just blown away at the power in which this $10 gun is providing. I mean, paint is just going fucking everywhere after the balls hit this piece of wood. And we think, well, we really want to know how far these things can go. We know how fast they're going, but how far can they go? So to give you a little bit of insight on where I grew up, or where we lived at this time, it was in Long Beach. It was near the El Dorado Park. So if you're a Long Beach local, you know about the El Dorado Park. And the neighborhood that I lived in, there was one main street that ran parallel to the riverbed, and that was kind of like the back end of the neighborhood. So there was a long line of houses on this main street. In their backyards, they had, a fence that would line up to the riverbed. So if you were in their backyard and you threw a rock really hard, it would land in the riverbed. Where I lived, it's called a horseshoe or a half moon street, where if you're going down the main street, you make a left, you go all the way around this little horseshoe, and then it will lead you back out to the main street. So kind of like a cul-de-sac, only not really. So if we're in my backyard, and I'm kind of trying to paint the visual, but I could be more confusing than anything right now. But if we're standing in my backyard, facing the front of the house, and you look to the right, you would basically look at a few houses to the right of us, that little street that connected everything, the row of houses, and then the riverbed. So if we were able to shoot these paintballs from my backyard to the right, all the way into that riverbed, that would be pretty successful. So that's what we're planning to do. We feel like there's no reason why these paintballs ain't gonna travel a couple hundred feet. So we just start fucking unloading paintballs, probably at least 50 to 100 paintballs. We're shooting them over my backyard, and it looks like they're going 50 miles. We think these things might be going to another city. They're going so far. This spring we put in the gun is no joke. So we're shooting them up, and about 5 minutes goes by, and we really want to go to the park now and see where all of these paintballs landed. Ideally, the riverbed, if you're familiar, they have it's like a bank, or it's kind of like a large half pipe. That might be the best way to explain it. And it's made out of cement, and at the very bottom is the water that travels through it. And then of course there's bridges that will take you from one side to the other if there is a street going over it. So we figured that we're probably hitting the inside of that half pipe. And in our heads we're thinking, imagine the art piece that we just created in this riverbed. It's going to be something that generations from now wonder, how did it come to be, who did it, and what does it mean? So that's our idea going into it. That's what we think is going to happen. So we start riding our bikes out of our neighborhood, and once we get out of the horseshoe street that I live on, you get onto that main street, and we're riding bikes, and we see all kinds of people congregated in their front yards, and we're thinking, wow, that's crazy. Everyone's just out hanging out today. And then we hear, hey, you kids, this was all your fault. And then we start taking a closer look, and we realize that all of these paintballs that we thought were going hundreds of feet were probably at most going about 70 feet, which the optical illusion of watching these things fly and then realizing they weren't traveling so far was kind of a mind bender. But we had been shooting these paintballs, and they had been just creaming the front of these houses that were on this main street that backed up to the riverbed. So we hadn't even made it over these houses. There might have been one or two paintballs that hit a roof, but the majority of them all hit the front of these houses, and then unfortunately people parked their cars in front of their houses. We just got paintballs all over these fucking cars. So we just keep riding our bikes. We act like we don't hear them. We go back to my house and we think, okay, what are we going to do? We got to figure out a plan. It wasn't us. We got to make sure they know that. Okay, this is what we'll do. We're going to act like we didn't hear them. We're going to ride our bikes through the long way of the horseshoe, and then we're going to end up riding up to these people, and we're going to look like spectators. We're going to look as if we're looking at it just like them and thinking, wow, that's pretty fucked up that somebody just attacked your house with a paintball gun. So we're riding our bikes and we're getting close, and they're all just yelling at us, you guys did this, you guys did this. And we're saying, oh my gosh, what happened? Acting all oblivious and ignorant to the situation. And then one lady says, I can't believe you're acting like that. You're the ones responsible for it. And at that point, I feel like we pretty much knew the gig was up. We had been caught. They knew that we were the ones that shot these paintballs. If I'm not mistaken, I think we actually had the same color paint from the paintballs on our clothes. So we did not do a very good job of cleanup before inspecting the crime scene. So at this point, we know, okay, the jig's up. We got to fucking get this taken care of now. So we go back to my house. We get some sponges. I'm sure my mom was not happy about that. We took sponges from the kitchen. We took a couple of buckets, and we just proceeded to wipe down the fronts of these houses. It kind of sucked because there was an older gentleman in the neighborhood that was kind of our guru in regards to BMX biking, and his car got creamed. If anything, his car got the worst of it. I don't think he ever talked to us again. He was pretty pissed off. He was like, come on, bros. I'm trying to help you little grunts out, and you shoot up my fucking car with paintballs. Not cool. He was probably like 18. I think his mom was pissed off. So we weren't hanging out with that dude anymore. So there was some consequences to this besides having to clean it up. But it probably took us about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get all this paint off of these houses. It was over the course of like 6 houses. At least 5 or 6 cars got fucking just completely assaulted. And fortunately, nobody ever found out. Like, my mom never found out. We cleaned it. Well, she found out now. Mom, if you're listening, you're finding out a lot of things I did when I was younger on this podcast. Shooting up the neighbors' houses with paintballs is one of them. So we cleaned it up, took care of it. We apologized to everybody. And from that point on, I do believe that we were looked at as somewhat of the trouble kids. There are a few other things that happened in this neighborhood that maybe could have solidified that to the neighbors, but this was really the beginning of it, So the moral of that story is, if you want to get a cheap paintball gun, you could get them for probably now about $20 at like a clearance sale. If I&I Sports is still open, hopefully they're still running the deal. And all you got to do is put a big ass spring in there and compress it, and you can turn that $10 gun into something capable of shooting about 80 feet and completely destroying the facades of your neighbors' houses, as well as the paint jobs on their cars. Because I don't remember that part. I would imagine that the paint was sticking on there for quite a while, and we did our best to cleaning it off. But maybe even to this day, there's a few people with remnants of that moment on their house or on their car. So we do have some time left. Let's go ahead and get into another story from that neighborhood. This is a fun one. I believe I've actually told this on a couple other podcasts, but why not give you a refresher of the story? Same gentleman was involved, my buddy Jason. His brother was one of the people in this story. His name was Brian. And then there was another Brian and a Justin. So we had 4 people all together. And this was kind of like the neighborhood crew. We'd hang out, we'd ride bikes, we'd ride through the riverbed all the way to the beach, all that fun stuff as kids. And one night we decided that we want to do a scavenger hunt. And the one top thing on this scavenger hunt is toilet paper. I don't necessarily know why in the beginning we needed all this toilet paper, but the goal was to knock on everybody's door in this neighborhood, tell them that we're on a scavenger hunt and that toilet paper is on top of the list. So we went all around, we gathered all of this toilet paper, we had bags of the shit, and then we went back to my buddy's Brian house, who lived about maybe 2 little streets away from me. And he said, hey, okay, me and Jason are going to go on the last little, section of this scavenger hunt. You guys wait here and we'll be right back. So me, the other Brian, and Justin were just hanging out. And, they come back maybe 10, 15 minutes later, and they tell us that they want to show us what they've done. This is an exciting thing. Let them show us. Let them surprise us. So we start going, and we're getting eerily close to my house. And I wonder what my house has to do with this. And as we approach my house, I realize more or less, maybe everybody else was in on it, but the whole point of this scavenger hunt and to get all of this toilet paper was to toilet paper my fucking house. So we get up there, there's toilet paper all over the place, and the first thing I say is, well, that's cool, guys, that's funny, but what the fuck, we gotta clean it up. My mom is gonna be pissed. So, of course, it doesn't take much time. It's not like we did this at midnight or anything. It was probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night. My mom comes out. She's yelling at us. She's pretty pissed off. But the thing that bothers her the most, if I remember correctly, which I believe I do, is that a lot of this toilet paper was very, very high-end toilet paper. I mean, we were using shit that, like, you could stick your finger through it without even trying, which, think about wiping your butt and your finger being able to go through very easily. Not a fun experience. And on top of that, it's like very lightweight. The kind of toilet paper we would use is almost like lightweight paper. So there was no softness to it. You were pretty much wiping your butt with half-grade construction paper. So when my mom saw that all of this Cottonelle and Bounty and all of these amazingly absorbent toilet papers were all over our tree, I think she wanted to collect it and take it inside, because she told us that I can't believe that you toilet papered our house, and this is nicer toilet paper than we even have on the inside. Yeah. So guys, that was a couple of stories from when I was younger. One about paintballing, upgrading a gun, shooting it over the fence, thinking that we're hitting the what's it called, the riverbed. But no, we just annihilated the fucking neighbors' houses. And then also a really quick one about how my friends duped me into collecting toilet paper to toilet paper my own house. Now, I will say these were good friends. These are just things that you do when you're younger that are goofy, but I'm still a little bit upset about it. And I really think the only way that we're going to be able to bring closure to the matter is with a little freestyle. So yes, a little freestyle about what? When I was younger, I went on a little scavenger hunt. For what? Some paper. I didn't know my friends a little bit later would act like some fucking haters. Go down to my house, throw the toilet paper over my trees until my mom came out and said, "What the hell is that? We got sandpaper inside, but on the trees you're using Continental." And then it hurt her pride. She thought, wow, maybe we should buy some better toilet paper. The neighbors are trying to tell us something. And then later, we went down to the grocery store and got some Bounty, and that was it, like we was living in Orange County. But no, we was living in Long Beach. We had toilet paper the strong reach. Okay, what's really wrong, Brie? I don't know what I'm saying, but a Brie is a cheese. And I like cheddar, though. Okay, I can do way better, though. What we coming back to, that paintball story. It was in the morning. Me and my buddy Jason went to Iron City of Industry. We was down in the streets, shooting up the houses, walking around and saying, shit, what happened? What about it? You think it was us? You think that was me and Jason that shot your house with paintball guns? That was it, guys. I like that, I don't even think it was that great, vocabulary or cadence-wise or anything like that. But it's Saturday. As always, I greatly appreciate you joining me every day in these videos. And on that note, guys, God bless.